Hey everybody, welcome. It is 7.3. We're going to be solving addition and subtraction equations today. Okay, so we're going to be solving for our x or solving for our y or solving for whatever variable you want to put in there in just addition and subtraction equations. They're going to be one-step equations today. All right. So the very first thing is we need to have a few warm-ups. So warm your brains up with these three problems and I will go over them. Have fun. All right, here we go. Notice that the first two are going to be subtraction problems. Remember, whenever we subtract, what do? Add its opposite. So the very first one, number one, negative 4 minus 5 is the same thing as negative 4 plus a negative 5. When you do that, you get negative 9. Same thing for the second one, 8 minus a negative 12. Okay, when you look at that, it looks like we just need to take 8 minus that 12 and we'll be good. However, that 12 is negative. Add its opposite. It turns into 8 plus 12 and you get 20. Last one, negative 3 plus 14. When you have negative 3 plus 14, the signs are opposite, so we need to subtract those digits with 3 and 14, and you get 11. Okay, remember, it's going to be a positive 11 because that 14 is farthest away from 0. Okay, we're going to be getting problems like this today. It's just all going to come down to what is the correct step to do. Okay, here we go. We're going to be solving. Very first thing I want you to do is I want you to do inverse operations. Inverse operations. So pause now, write these 4 bullet points down. Okay, and then I will explain. Alright, so if you look at this, inverse operations mean they undo each other. Okay, for instance, addition and subtraction. Those are opposite or inverse operations of one another. The reason behind that, if I took 9 minus 7. Okay, 9 minus 7 is 2. But if I add 7 again, it is back to 9. Notice if I subtracted and then I added, they undo each other. Okay, subtracting 7 and then adding 7 right back to that answer, it undoes or whatever that word is. I'm not an English teacher. Okay, whatever that is, they go back and it undoes each other. Okay, then you look. The same thing happens with multiplication and division. 42 divided by 6 is equal to 7. If I take that 7 and I multiply 6 again, I will start out or end with 42. Again, they undo one another. Okay. When solving an equation, we're going to be using inverse operations to isolate the variable. Inverse operations. So if it is x plus 7 equals 14, we're going to be subtracting because we're adding in the problem, we're subtracting. That 7 is being added, so we are going to subtract. I'll explain that in just a second. Last one, this means getting the variable alone on one side of the equation, equal sign. We need to, whatever we do, the reason for us to solve and get that variable all by itself, we need to get rid of everything else in that equation. Everything else except for that x on that side. Okay? All right, moving on. Couple of properties. The very first one is addition property of equality. I want you to try this one. Pause now, and I will explain. All right, so addition property of equality. By adding the same value to each side of the equation will still be true. For instance, if you look at this equation, it says 2 plus 3 equals 5. That's the same thing as taking 2 plus 3 equals 5 plus 3. In other words, if I give you the answer of 4 is equal to 4, is that true? Absolutely, it's always true. 4 is equal to 4. However, if I added 2 to both sides, is 6 equal to 6? You betcha. And that is the property of equality. No matter what we do, if we add 2 to one side, we have to add 2 to the other side to keep that equation true, or keep that property of equality true. Okay? So if we do one thing to one side, we have to do the exact same thing to the other side. All right. Next one. Same idea, except now it's subtraction. So pause now, write this one down. This is the last definition that we have. Last definition that we have. Then we have a few problems. All right. So when we look at this, we're subtraction of equality. Again, if I give you 4 is equal to 4, which we talked about, now I subtract 2 on both sides. Your answer is going to be 2 is equal to 2. Is that true? You betcha it is. Okay, if we subtract 2 on one side, we have to subtract 2 on the other side. Awesome! Moving on to the problems. Enough of this writing these definitions. Let's get to some math. Yeehaw! Alright, here we go. We're going to solve. I'm going to pause this so you can write these two problems down, and then I'm going to explain the first one. Okay, and then I'm going to give you time to finish the second one. That second equation is incorrect. I want it to be 2 is equal to 1.3 plus a plus 4.4. Okay, that's 4.4, not 4 times 4. Okay, so write those two problems down and then we'll talk. Alright, so now we have two problems. Alright, here we go. So this very first one. Okay, when we do this, it says p minus 8 is equal to 9. Our goal is to get p all by itself down here. So if we look at this left side of the equation, the p minus 8, we need to get rid of that minus 8. When we do that, okay, we need to take the inverse operation of what is happening to that 8. Okay, that 8 is being subtracted. Okay. Not the overall problem, but what's happening to that 8. That 8 is being subtracted. So how we do that, we take the inverse operation. What's the inverse operation of the minus sign? It is going to be plus. We are going to be adding. And again, we have to add to both sides. And what we want to do is we want to get that 8 equal to 0. Okay, so we do that. Negative 8 plus 8 is equal to 0. And the reason behind that is because at the end, okay, this p is all by itself. There's nothing else other than that equal sign. Okay, that 8 is going to be equal to 0 when we add it. So what we do to the left side, according to the addition property of equality, we have to do it to the right side. We're going to add 8, and our answer is 17. Okay, I know that problem you may have known right off the top of your head, and that's okay. I still want you to show your work, and this is your work right here. This step is your work. I want you to show that work because that is very important for me to see you in this process. Okay, second one, what I want you to do is I want you to try this one. See what you come up with. I want you to try this one all by yourself. Notice if we can combine before we figure out that answer. Alright, so if I look at this, now, if I look at my right side, I have 1.3 plus a plus 4.4. What I can do before I even solve for a, well, I can take 1.3 plus 4.4 to get 5.7 plus a. Why can I do that? Well, because they're constants. They're two things I can combine before I solve. All right, now it comes up to be, now we have to figure out what a is. Again, we want to get a all by itself. How do you do that? Well, same thing. What is happening to that 5.7? Okay, I know there's addition in this problem. Right here we see addition. However, we want to know what is happening to this 5.7. Not what's happening to the a, but that 5.7. Well, because that 5.7 is positive, that means it's going to be added, or it's just taking 0 plus 5.7. Alright, so what do we do to get rid of it? To make it 0, we subtract 5.7. What we do to one side, we have to do to the other. Okay, so what we get now is going to be a negative 3.7. Why is it negative? Well, that 5 is negative. That one's farthest away from 0. Okay, opposite operation of what's happening to the number you're getting rid of. Sweet! Next problem. Two more problems. Two more. Two more. Two more. Here we go. Solve these two. See what you come up with. And actually, I want you to do this problem. I'm going to change this problem around a little bit. Change the second one. It's going to be 44 is equal to a negative 23 plus y. Change that around a little bit. See what you come up with. Give her a shot. Alright, so this first one, it's y minus negative 2.2 is equal to 5.6. Okay, well, we know that what's happening in the problem is subtraction. However, whenever we subtract, remember we talked about adding its opposite. When we add its opposite, and you don't have to every single time you subtract, only do it if it helps your brain think a little bit. When we do this, y minus a negative 2.2, I'm going to add its opposite because now I don't see a subtraction sign. I see y plus 2.2. Okay, so if I take y plus 2.2, how do I get that y all by itself? Well, I need to get rid of this 2.2. Inverse operation, I'm going to subtract a positive 2.2, subtract 2.2. And my answer, when I do so, I take 5.6 minus 2.2. That tells me that that's 0 on the left side. On the right side, I will have 4.4. And I'm done. Okay, sorry, not 4.4. I was just testing you. I was testing you. It's 3.4. We'll see how you do. Awesome. Here we go. Next one. We have 44 is equal to a negative 23 plus y. When you look at this problem, again, I don't want you to see what's happening what's the problem in the equation. Not the operation, what's happening in the equation. However, what's happening to the number we're getting rid of? Okay, on this right side, I'm getting rid of that 23, right? My y is all by itself. So, when I get rid of that negative 23, what's happening to that negative 23? Well, it's actually being subtracted. For instance, if I give you the number negative 23, it's like saying 0 minus 23. So in order to get the opposite of that, I need to add 23 to both sides. Why is that true? Well, negative 23 plus 23, that's going to give you 0, right? It's going to give you 0. So that's out on the left side, which leaves me, on the right side, that leaves me y on the right side. Add 23 to that left side, and I'm going to get 67 is my answer. Okay, again, be careful to your steps. Make sure they are the correct ones. Inverse operations is what we are using. Inverse operations is what we're using. All right. Here's your homework. This is what I want you to do, 329 through 331. You're doing the evens here, and then you have a few problems with the all. But I want you to show your work. That's important to me. Show your work on these problems. Show me that step of adding or subtracting. All right? Hope you enjoyed this. Have fun with your homework. Have fun. Have fun. Gotta love math. See ya.